Folks, want to take your seats, please? I will start this regular council meeting. Please stand for the pledge. What's your little guy's name? Caden, you want to lead us in the pledge, please? Ready? Nice and loud now, right?
We'll go along with you.
Just say I pledge.
We'll chime in. You just start us out.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I like how everybody chimed in there.
We did not miss one word.
They did not miss a word. Now, regularly I have the prayer, but tonight I'm passing the baton to Mindy from Impact City Church, and she's going to do the invocation tonight. Right here, yes.
Let's pray. God, we thank you. We acknowledge you tonight being with us. We thank you for the city that you've called us to serve. God, I thank you now for each of the leaders that's in this room and the leaders across this city in churches and governments and schools. And God, I pray that you guide our decisions and our discussions tonight. I pray that you continue to bless the unity that's in this city that we've seen that's so unique. And we ask that you help us to lead with humility, by grace, and with love, just like you lead us. Bless today's meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And while we all keep Kathy and her family in our prayers, we have another illness going on. We're happy to have Jess here. Jess, would you start us out with the roll call, please?
Hayes,
Yes, here.
Barstow,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Hicken,
Here.
Walther,
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda tonight is citizens' comments. And as I let council know, I had something a little special planned for tonight, since we normally, and I don't know if we're not having a second meeting or not, but I didn't want to take that chance, because usually towards the end of the year is when I issue my behind-the-scenes Citizens of the Year awards, and I'd like to do that tonight. Don't have everybody here, but Angie, would you come forward, and Mindy and Justin, and bring your son with you, please. You can stand right here. I really can't believe that it's been 3 years. I'm getting ready to start my 4th year as mayor. And when people ask me that all the time, I would tell them that it seems like it feels like it's been a year and a half in some aspects of it. In other aspects, it has felt like it's been 5 or 6 years. But when it felt like it was 5 or 6 years, there were some folks that I leaned on, folks that I asked for advice, and sometimes didn't even have to wait. They would call me and say, "Hey, can we pray for you? Can we help you out? Is there anything we need to be praying about? We don't want to know what it is." That was kind of the funny thing. Sometimes they would call and say, "We don't want to know what it is, but do you need me to pray for you or anything like that?" And of course, I welcomed it. And I had 4 folks picked. I guess a couple of them couldn't make it tonight. I know Mike Saldivar is actually, his church is growing so fast that he's interviewing folks tonight to help out with his church. And Jim Dewhurst from Real Church. I don't think he could make it tonight. But these 4 folks, Jim Dewhurst from Real Church, his folks were the ones that came here and re-landscaped all of City Hall this spring. And he calls me constantly, and we have breakfast, and he bounces things off of me, and the guy's got an energy level that's higher than mine, if you can believe that. Justin and Mindy, of course, met you at the street fair many years ago, it seems like. You started your church and then found a building right across from Watkins. You're always at the parade. Helps out with the Easter egg hunt. Every time I've called you, you've answered the call, and I really appreciate what you do. And I know you're going to talk in a couple minutes about something that's really been exciting that you've been doing this year, so I'll save that for that. And Angie, opening your church to this summer, I got to come down and eat lunch with the kids for the Kids Eat Lunch Free program during the summer, and what an eye-opener. Of course, I've been telling you for years that, through Goodwill and Salvation Army and what's our other Leeds and somebody else that I'm involved in. But anyway, when you talk about the thousands of people that these organizations help, like 80-90% of the time, it's kids that aren't eating. So what a program! What a program! So, and Mike Saldivar, again, who's not here tonight, but again, another guy that reaches out to me all the time and asks me, always it seems at just the right time, do you need a prayer? And very involved with the community also, with Chamber and everything. So I appreciate what you do, and you're this year's recipients for Behind the Scenes Citizens of the Year.
Awesome, that's cool.
I'll actually see Mike Saldivar. We're having the Chamber Christmas party at his church tomorrow, so I'll give him his.
Come up here in front of the podium, Mayor.
Get a shot.
Good call. Good call. Front of the podium. Thanks, Brian.
And I'll have to go to Jim's church on Sunday and get him. Tell him what he's banking on.
All right. Very good. Congratulations.
Hold on, my flash. There you go. On a delayed flash. I got issues.
So many days without
Okay, citizens' comments. Anybody else wish to speak? Mr. Fox?
First, I'd like to thank everybody for their vote 2 weeks ago. I appreciate it. And now I want to give a update of what has occurred with the Sewer and Water District.
Need your name and address, please.
Mike Fox, 11540 East Broad Street, Pataskla, Ohio.
Thank you.
43062. I can't share a lot with you because it was an executive session, but I can assure you that it was very positive movement towards a good agreement with the city of Pataskla and the Sewer and Water District. I'm excited about it. I think that Nate and Lee are working on it now with BJ's leadership and with our board's leadership. And I think that I'll tell you, some residents are going to be pretty happy, I believe, from it. I think it's going to be a positive thing for the city of Pataskla. I think it's going to be a positive thing for the customers of the Sewer and Water District. And that's about what I can tell you, but it's positive. It's all positive. So I appreciate your appointment for it. I intend to come at least once a month. Well, actually, I'm going to be at all the meetings, so it doesn't matter for some time. But I would like to come at least once a month to give an update of whatever we hear and whatever we have. I think we have 2 meetings in December, just so that you all know, because we're scheduled to, so I think we're doing 2, just for your information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin Ross, 169 Shell Ridge Drive, Pataskla, Ohio. Well, I just wanted to take the opportunity, Mayor and Council, to give you guys an update on some things that are happening amongst the ministers here in Pataskla. There has been a sort of an unofficial ministerial association that's been going for many years, the Southwest Licking Ministerial Association, with some different area pastors and ministers. And in the recent years, it's primarily been pastors coming together for lunch. A lot of times they met at Massey's Pizza and just kind of caught up with what was going on. We'd invite in speakers like the mayor or invite in ministry leaders or organizational leaders to hear what's going on in the community. Well, this summer, that group of people decided you know what, maybe we can do more than just eat pizza, but how about we get together and begin to release our faith in prayer to lift up our leaders, lift up our different organizations. So starting in June, we actually met here in council chambers and began our first pastor prayer gathering. And for the last 6 months, we've been going to strategic locations and praying for those leaders and praying for those areas. So in June, we met here in council's chambers and was honored to do that. In July, we met at the YMCA and prayed for our community. In August, we met at Watkins High School. In September, we met at the Pataskala Police Department. In October, we met at the West Licking Fire Station, Station 1 on Broad Street. And then last month, we met at the Lead Center in the Storehouse for Jesus Food Pantry. And each month, we've got about a dozen or so pastors that are gathering together and praying, lifting up you guys as leaders, lifting up other community leaders and our families. And so I just want you to know that you're being prayed for, and that if you need any kind of support, spiritual ministry, just wise counsel, there's a group of pastors that would love to support you guys. So please let us know. You can send those to me directly at justin@impactcity.tv, justin@impactcity.tv, and I'll be sure to pass that along to the group, and we'll lift you up each month. So one other thing I wanted to make you guys aware of is this Saturday, we are organizing a Christmas caroling event with an emphasis on care. And it's going to be targeting the Pataskala Greens community and some of the surrounding apartment communities nearby that. So it'll be Saturday from 2:30 to 5. There'll be probably 100 to 150 people gathered to do Christmas caroling. And the emphasis on care is each home is we give them a gift card to Kroger, and then we offer up prayer. And so that's a community-wide event, anyone that wants to participate. But just wanted you guys to be aware that was going on this weekend. So with that, thank you guys for your time.
Question.
Yes.
Where are you meeting? So in case I have people ask, like,
Yes.
do you have a specific meeting spot to start?
Yes, the starting location is Impact City Church
Okay.
at 2:30, and we're going to gather into groups of like 8 to 12 people, and then you'll be given instructions on how to approach each house, lyrics to some traditional Christmas carols, as well as a stack of gift cards and some goodie bags for the kids and stuff. And so everything's organized.
Super.
And there's a Facebook event called Christmas Caroling that I'm sure you could search and find and get all the information as well.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, on to, let's see, reports. Okay. I actually have a lot of stuff tonight.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, consent agenda. I always forget that. Introduction, discussion, approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? And roll.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes. On to reports. We had a great Thanksgiving. I think I'd let you folks know we had 2 locations that were now serving meals to the needy. And we had Buster's Corner Store was supplying meals, and so was the church, the First Presbyterian Church, across from the police station, and we served probably altogether over 150 meals. And that's obviously doubled and tripled. Buster's used to be the only one doing it, and now there's a young lady in town that stepped up that had done the program in Mount Vernon and has extended it to Pataskala, and it was kind of neat. A lot of folks brought in a lot of turkeys and a lot of neat food, and we served a lot of folks. So that was a really cool Thanksgiving for me. I had Jess send you a little email today about Elves in Action. That's for a food pantry. Normally they collect food in Newark around the courthouse. With the construction around the courthouse, there's a distinct fear that folks won't drive and drop off the food. So I think it's WCLT, Wild Wally, is working in conjunction with Coughlin Chevrolet, all 3 of their dealerships. On the 16th, we're going to have food drop-off. So, and I'll be participating in that, obviously, at the Coughlin up here in Harrison Township. So I'll keep you posted on that. That just kind of popped up on the radar, so I wanted to let you folks know. The toy drive, I think every Saturday, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hicken, if you know any more information about this, but I think the next few Saturdays will be the toy drop-off. I'm hoping you'll pass the motion tonight to waive the fees. They have turned in all their permits, so hopefully we'll be able to do that for those folks as they collect toys for the needy. Our Shop with a Cop is December 15th. And if you need any details on that, let me know. I think they've allotted almost $4,000. So there's going to be some children going home and with some gifts for not only themselves but their families. So that's always a great one for not only our police officers who get heavily involved, but also our residents. And you talk about some happy kids. It's pretty cool. The Cookie Walk was a huge success. I had asked Sarah McGuire from the Pataskala Alliance to get me some information, and she's still weighing how much food there was because they filled 2 vehicles with canned goods. So she was going to go to Beeson's Hardware and weigh the van and then take the food out and then see what it was and then weigh the other vehicle. But she said there was over 13,650 cookies baked, and you could go to 40 different stops along the way. So, we have businesses now that aren't on Main Street that come down and set up a table on Main Street just to be involved. So they took in $667 in cash, $300 in cash for the Kids Eat Free program. The church gave away or sold. I'm not sure if anybody here from the First Presbyterian Church that does the chicken noodle soup? They went through 700 bowls of soup.
Sweet.
So, and there was $2,000 donated for sponsorship. And Franklin Tractor Sales, Franklin Equipment gave us the lights for Veterans Green. So I'm estimating 2,000 or 3,000 people. I stayed in one spot directing traffic all night, and the line just kept going and going and going. And then, of course, it was beautiful weather, and the parade topped it off. And it was just that's becoming another highlight in the community with that many people involved. So, fantastic evening. We made a presentation to the Watkins Memorial School Board. Ben Richards and Tommy and Melissa and several others of us are in the drug-free. We started that drug task force that I've mentioned, and we're partnering with a national company. It's called the Drug-Free Club of America, and we made a presentation, as I said, to Watkins School Board. We're hoping to launch that next year, and we're also on Licking Heights' agenda for the 21st to do the same presentation and hopefully get both of our schools on board with this drug-free club. And what was really amazing, I had a gentleman call me and wanted to meet with me today, and he has a national organization that's called the Dignity Revolution Challenge, which deals with bullying, and he wants to do the same thing to both of our school systems. So I'll be working with that and working with him after the first of the year with that to get him to come in and speak to not only council but also our 2 school boards. Let's see. I know Scott will probably touch base on this too, but was lucky enough to go to the Economic Development 411 down at the Ohio State Union. Over 500 people came from all over the state of Ohio to participate in that and talk about economic development. We broke into different classes, and Zach and Scott and I went and made sure that we didn't duplicate any of the classes so we could bring back this information. It's amazing to find out, okay, I just got a text from Sarah, 1,260 pounds of food, canned food donated for the Cookie Walk, so pretty cool. I guess I walked away from that. Scott, I don't know how you felt about it, but the last speaker of the day was talking about how, you know, you go to a lot of these seminars and folks are there to pump you up and tell you what's going on. And this gentleman, instead of saying the world is changing, he said the world has changed. I mean, we've got to, the information that was presented there is very valuable because we're moving at a very fast pace. I don't think I have to tell anybody that anymore, especially in Pataskala. So the things we learn at these economic development summits are very valuable, and I'm sure Scott's brought back a lot of good stuff. And our own Nate Strum from the CIC actually led one of the classes on discussing how public officials can work with their planning and zoning departments and their residents and bring more stuff to their city. So that was very exciting. On January 4th at 12 o'clock, that's when they're going to do the bell ringing. The bell's going to be down at the elementary school. It's all restored and ready to go. And so we're going to do that on the January 4th at 12 noon. We'll bring in the new year with the bell. I'm going to pass this around real quick. Did you bring one? Oh, okay. Our own officer, was it Officer Wiles? Officer Wiles designed a new patch for the guys. So I'll pass that around so you guys can take a look at it. Outville Christmas Parade and Bean Soup Dinner coming up this Saturday at 3 o'clock. That's when the parade will start, and then you can pig out. Met with Rotary. They spoke about expanding, and both BJ and I have thrown some ideas out to them that we would love to see park benches and flagpoles, not only in Veterans Green, but in all of our parks and maybe along Main Street with some park benches. So we're working very closely with Rotary as they want to expand on some of the things they'd like to do. And that's all I have for now. Mrs. Carter.
I have nothing this evening.
Mr. Zetz.
I have nothing.
Okay, Mr. King.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple items to update council on. The first is we've had our first couple of union negotiation sessions, one with OPBA, one with FOP, and we're working to schedule with the United Steelworkers, so we, at some point in the future, will be meeting with council to provide updates on those sessions. The second thing I wanted to mention is just our plan for the January meetings. You know, the budget's been approved. There's several CIP items in there, some that will have to come back to council for authorization, some that won't because they're under the $10,000 threshold. I know the first meeting in January is usually pretty busy with organizational. I know we're going to have interviews for council seats and also for boards and commissions potentially. So my plan is, and working with staff, and we've talked about this, is to have legislation on that night to be the CIP legislation that needs to begin design work, so we can get design work underway as early as possible. The other stuff that has to come back to council potentially for purchase, we'll wait for the second January meeting, just try to manage it that way, to try to keep that agenda manageable. The last thing I want to mention is just what a great year we've had here in the city. And we've been busy, and you know, we've all said that typically this time of year, beginning right around Thanksgiving, things start to slow down, and that has not been the case. You know, we've been kudos to all the staff for all of that with the budget that we've been able to do, and just all the work that the staff has done. I've said on numerous occasions that I feel we have, if not the best, one of the best staffs in Central Ohio, and I put them up against everybody. So I look forward to 2017 and continuing the momentum. We've got a lot of work to do. But I just wanted to give kudos and congratulations to what the staff has accomplished, and also with council. You know, what council, with the leadership here on council and the foresight on council to continue moving the city forward. So I appreciate it. I'm excited for next year and look forward to getting started, and happy to answer any questions about those items or anything that is on the agenda.
Anything for BJ? Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor. BJ already touched on collective bargaining. The police station funding, we are starting the process of working with bond counsel to begin the preparations of drafting the legislation for the initial construction funding. At this point, I'm working with BJ as far as the timing. We're thinking we'd probably bring it to council at mid-January. We get a little more definition going there, but that's where we're at today. Collections on income tax continue to trend well. Right now, we're about $330,000 ahead of last year at this point, so we may end up the year 350 or a little better than that, higher than last year. So that's a promising trend. And that's about all I have.
Anything for Jamie? Okay, Nate?
Good evening. Wanted to let you know that we've had 6 bidders pick up packets for the River Forest project. We're going to open that the 14th, so hopefully we'll have that, one of those January meetings for approval for that, get that baby rolling. Other than that, that's all I have. Appreciate your help and support this year. I think it's been a great year too, and couldn't be happier with the direction of our department, so thank you.
Anything for Nate? Very good. Mr. Haynes?
Thank you, sir. Just a couple things tonight. One, I think I have in my report that meeting for residents along Main Street would be held December 15th. I'll actually change that. I had a conflict, so we moved that to December 14th at 6 p.m., and that's for the easements for the electrical service along Main Street. The other one thing I wanted to mention is I've got an ordinance on for tonight for the settlement of Pataskala Phase 3-3, for that to be accepted by the city. That all the infrastructure is complete there. Inspection was full-time during the construction. All the testing came back as good. We did a walkthrough and punch list, which was very short and has been addressed. We have given certificate of substantial completion. As-bills have been received and are being reviewed now. And then we're ready to go from a performance to a maintenance bond. We have asked to waive the 3 readings on that, as everything is, in my opinion, good to go. And that's all I have.
Anything for Alan? Yes.
Any news on our Mink and Broad?
That'll be for the House, and I defer to BJ on that question.
There has not been. I've left a message for the attorney and haven't heard back from him.
Who is it?
Tom Foley.
Okay.
And I believe all of council knows, but the gentleman who owns that property has passed away, and the estate is being handled by an attorney who's been hired to handle the estate. We've reached out to him, and he's aware of our interest in the property and just waiting to hear back from him.
Okay.
Alan, I just have a couple quick things. Your December 14th meeting will be held where?
Here.
Here? Okay.
We'll be sending out a letter probably tomorrow.
That's the electric meeting?
Yes.
And I've noticed, and I read in your report, that the ditching, we now have one of those small ones like Harrison Township has to clean them out really speedily.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure that really helps a lot.
Yeah, I saw that in action. It doesn't cut new ditches, but it goes in existing ditches and just flings the dirt along as it goes and cleans those out quite nicely.
I think it was cable I saw. It looked like it was professionally,
Yeah.
and it's quick, right?
Very quick.
It was done professionally.
Thank you, BJ.
Point taken. As opposed to other years before you got here. How's that? No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
It looks great, okay? That was my point.
Good to hear.
All right.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
For the December 14th meeting, how will you guys notify the citizens that are affected by that? Is it knock on the doors? Is it, because I remember there's been sometimes a bit of a disconnect where people were like, some people knew it was coming and some people didn't, depending on what the event was. So it's just a general question to see if, are we sending them a mail? Are we counting on a website? Are we doing all 3?
I was planning to send a letter based on the addresses that we have.
Okay.
And
I mean,
if I can, this is going to be a much smaller group than in the past, because in the past we had a much larger area in the downtown, not just Main Street. This affects only the residents on Main Street, and I forget how many they are. I know Alan and Jess have been working together with our, but it'll be a mailer, it'll be on the website, and then it'll also be advertised on Facebook.
I believe there's 10 to 15 residents will be affected by
does it only affect the one side of the street?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
For the most part. There might be 1 or 2 on the east side, but I don't think so.
The west side of the street.
West side, correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haynes. Mr. Felton.
Thank you, sir. It's been over 2 years in the making, but I think we have an updated zoning map based upon information to the best of our knowledge. As I say that, I realized I probably jinxed myself, so we'll go back tomorrow and it will be wrong. Also, with that, we have identified that there's a number of split zone properties that we'll need to address. But the one that was the map that was associated with your packet is updated to the best of our knowledge by identifying different parcels that look out of whack that we went through the records to determine what the proper zoning is, etc. So that's for your information. Also, I wanted to bring up one thing. It's not on my report, but there's a student at Ohio University named Max Nader who's studying city planning at Ohio University. I spoke with him maybe a month ago and suggested he volunteer with our department to give him some real-world experience. I know when we were interviewing for the city planner position, there was a lot of folks who had the school but not the real-world experience. So starting on December 12th, he's going to work Monday, Wednesday, or volunteer Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're determining hours, and he'll do that through January 4th. But we'll just give him the rundown on zoning permits and code enforcement and BZA, planning and zoning, subdivision review, all those types of things, and kind of give him a crash course so he has some knowledge about, here's what the books say, but here's what things are like when you are in a planning department. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You were first.
I just wanted to, I appreciate the update on the technology show. I didn't know if you had seen last night's episode of 60 Minutes, but it was exactly on point, and reason why this is so important and why things are moving so quickly. It showed for everybody who didn't see that episode. It was an issue down in the Golden Triangle where they are bringing people to a very, I guess it would be a small area of Mississippi, correct, or Arkansas. I can't remember which one it was.
Eastern Mississippi.
But the issue is the gentleman that's doing it is pushing these programs, these training programs, and that's probably the biggest aspect of this that I can see in coordination with East or Western Licking County and working through CTOs through our community and high schools even that can do that. So that's why I'm asking for these things to keep updating them and keep on them, because I think the discussion needs to happen pretty quickly. So I just wondered if you'd seen that, and if you hadn't, definitely go online and see it.
It's the one time I did not watch football, and then the 60 Minutes after it. The one time I don't, there was something
Yeah.
like that was on.
Well, this is, but the conference that you went to brought this up also, and it is exactly a point that's being looked at by a lot of different communities. So just making sure that it was brought to your attention.
Thank you.
Suzanne?
I was just going to say thank you for the update on Max. I have personal investment, so I think he was just one of my students in third grade and fourth. So I think it's nice that Main Street. I mean, his mom lives on Main Street. He's a Main Street Pataskala kid. That I guess he's a grown man now. Sorry, that we would invest in, in training up our own people. And so I just appreciate your. I'm glad he's volunteering, but I appreciate your time in that.
Oh, very welcome.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Scott, I want to thank Steve Blake for his prompt response to the problem in our neighborhood with the builder who was starting work at 4 o'clock in the morning. My neighbors, I got an earful, and my neighbors appreciate that. I stopped in here, and he went out and got it taken care of, and they have not. They've been starting at 7 o'clock ish, which is the appropriate time. So I thank you. And also, Old Summit Town's looking a lot better. So. Just keep after them, because as soon as we stop, they'll stop. So it looks a lot better.
Great,
They've
yes.
they've cleaned that up. It's about as good as it's going to look until they decide to do something with it.
Yeah, the goal line is in sight. We're almost there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Did you have a comment, BJ?
No.
Okay. Anything else for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Chief?
I actually have nothing tonight.
Okay.
Answer any questions.
Anything for Bruce? Okay, committee chair reports. Yes, Mr. Lee.
We had a building and grounds meeting tonight. We discussed several things. Sorry, let me get my mic there. We discussed several things, but the main thing that we discussed was the repurposing of City Hall once PD vacates that building. Basically, we didn't want to get into the weeds of what to do with it now because we don't think that we're to that point where we can say it should be this or that. We're to the point where we need to have somebody professionally look at the building and invest some money into looking in and seeing what that building can actually be used for. I think at this point we're just guessing until we really know what's in there. So that was the emphasis of our conversation. I don't want to get into, like I said, saying what I think it should be, or because it really at this point doesn't matter. So there will be a motion tonight to discuss, and I'll leave it at that so we can discuss it when the motion comes up. But that was pretty much the emphasis of our meeting was City Hall. We did have a lot of other things, some Veterans Green stuff with the cannon and other odds and ends, but I'll leave it at that for tonight.
Very good. Any other committee chair reports? All right, very good. Moving on. Ordinance 2016-4275 for a first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Hicken. Jess, when you're ready, first reading.
Ordinance 2016-4275 for the first reading. An ordinance to accept and confirm infrastructure improvements for the settlement of Pataskala Phase 3, Part 3 for public maintenance and operation by the city of Pataskala.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move that we dispense with three readings of the ordinance 2016-4275 on three separate dates as provided for in section 4.04 of the Charter of the City of Pataskala.
Okay, I have a motion to dispense with the readings.
Second?
I have a second by Mr. Hicken. Any discussion on the motion to dispense? Seeing none?
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Somebody like to move to adopt?
Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt by Mr. Barstow. Seconded by Mrs. Hayes. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther.
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-4275 passes. On to resolutions, Resolution 2016-062, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into a professional services agreement with Jobs Henderson for professional engineering services for fiscal year 2017.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Barstow and seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? And roll.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2016-063, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into a 3-year professional services agreement with Isaac Wiles Burkholder and Teeter LLC.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
Second.
seconded by
Either or.
Mr. Walther. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, just very briefly, I just want to say that I have some modicum of expertise in this area, in delivery of legal services, and I just have to say it's been fantastic, and I'm really excited to see that this contract calls for them to take over the municipal court prosecution over in Newark. That's going to be great. We were spending, I think, an awful lot of money over there, and that's also going to help getting the right cases to that court and screening those out, working with the police department. And I know that Mr. Yazowitz, who does the prosecution, is very pleased with the relationship that he has with the department, with the chief, and I think that's going to end up being another good thing for the city. Thank you.
And I'd just like to add, the mayor's court is extremely pleased. So I just have one question. Hopefully you'll be able to answer it the correct way. Is there really a Santa Claus, Mr. Zetz?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Well done,
Any other
Mr. Zetz.
discussion? Roll, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Resolution passes. On the motions, motion to waive temporary sign permit fee for the West Licking Fire District Toy Drive.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow and seconded by Mr. Hicken. Any discussion? And roll.
Walther,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Motion to advertise and accept applications for board and commission vacancies to include Board of Zoning Appeals, Personnel Board of Review, Licking County Transit Board, and Records Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Carter, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Again, just briefly, this has been, to me, it's been a longstanding issue. Some of these boards, the terms are going to end at the end of the year. We're not going to get to them. They're going to have vacancies. I know when I was on PBR, we had this situation come up. We could not have a quorum because we had 2 vacancies. They weren't on the board, and somebody was sick, or somebody had a child who was sick, so we couldn't organize at the beginning of the year. So I'd encourage the administration. I know I've talked to Mr. King and the mayor about this. I encourage the administration to. We know these terms are going to expire naturally. Let's put the advertisements out in September or October. Hey, it's going to come open, and put your bid in if you want to get on the board or stay on the board. That's all I have. Thank you.
And after our discussion, I actually went to Kathy and asked her, because I had a feeling, and she has started to ask us as early as late July to make sure that we knew this stuff was coming. So it was kind of on us, and we will do a better job and make sure that, just like we're doing with the budget, that we have to push this to the forefront and get her done.
It is. It's not on our clerk at all. It's on council
Yep.
and administration.
Agreed. Point taken. Yep.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
On that, also, the applicants that came in for the council seat, the last council seat that was vacant, how are we going to reach out to them so that they can apply for these boards? By merely putting an advertisement out, I don't know that these people will know necessarily, those 6 or 7 other people. Is there any way to go ahead and reach out to those previous applicants that weren't chosen, as well as the Water District Board also? Is there a way to do that, to give them notice?
We certainly could, but my feeling is that a vacancy should be open and it should be up to the person to apply for it, instead of going out and soliciting them to apply, because I don't want to give any false hopes that they would be potentially chosen.
I'm only asking, is there a way to notify them? I'm not asking them to say, you guys are going to be our first choice, but just to they obviously reached out for other vacancies. Is there any way to do that for the past applicants?
I can check with Kathy, see if she has those names, but I guess I'm kind of leaning towards a lot of those people. I think we were shocked that night when we saw all those people come in. So obviously they're staying in tune, but I wouldn't want to lose some good candidates if they didn't know that there were some boards open. So I'll check with Kathy and work on that. Any other discussion on that? All right, roll call, please.
Walter,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken.
Yes.
All right, very good. Additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak? Yes.
Would this be the time to make the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other motions tonight?
Yeah. Am I the only one?
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion to direct the city administrator to begin acquiring cost estimates for design of use for Old Town Hall.
Got a motion by Mr. Lee,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
When we had brought this up previously, we had talked about having the architect that's working on the police station give us some ideas about the old town hall. Have you gotten any kind of response from that architect?
They've been focused on the police station. They will certainly be contacted to give us a proposal, though, to do this work as well.
Okay, because I know at that time we talked about cost to do something along those lines, and I know, BJ, you were talking about possibly getting them to look into it at a pro bono type of situation.
We certainly were aggressive in getting their cost for the design of the police station, and I think we...
used up all our chips?
Yes.
Mrs. Carter?
Asking several times for them to sharpen their pencil.
I see.
Mrs. Carter?
I just wanted to get a little more information about what exactly we're asking for them to look at. Like, how in-depth are we going,
Sure.
or is there a couple overall systems? I'm just trying to get an idea of when we talk about investing money. I want to know where we're going.
Great question, and that's why I kind of waited till the motion so we could talk about it. Again, I guess to emphasize, we've in Buildings and Grounds, we've talked about a lot of different options of what to do with that building, but without actually hiring someone to look at the building, we're basically just guessing. I guess as far as how far to go into it, I would refer to BJ on that, but I'm not sure how to exactly answer how far to go into it, other than the fact that we've been talking about it for a long time. The building will be vacated as soon as the police station is built, and we think that there's some opportunities to make some income and be able to justify spending taxpayers' dollars on that building. There's some revenue that we think that can be generated from that, because we're going to have to answer those questions. So as far as how deep, I'm going to let BJ answer that.
Yeah, what I'll start with is that this time next year we're going to have to really make a decision on what we want to do with the building, if not sooner. We're going to have to budget money for whatever we decide to do with it, and that's going to get us committed to that decision. What this would do essentially, and I liken this to almost somewhat of a needs assessment, kind of like we did with the police station. What do we need? What are we looking at? And coming up with 2-3 different options of what we could do there on each floor. We know the top floor is going to remain the Sterling Theater. I think everybody knows that. So it leaves us with the main floor of the PD, including the back booking station, looking at the storage needs of the city, looking at just growth needs of the city from departmental-wise, looking at the basement. Does that become some type of community use? Does it become storage? Whatever. So coming up with 2 or 3 different proposals for the city to say, hey, this is the direction we want to go with this, and this is what it's going to take to do it.
Mr. Barstow? Well, yeah, I think, so this is going to result in 3 or 4 or 5 courses of action, and the approximate cost to implement those, whatever those recommendations are.
Correct.
Okay.
Mrs. Carter?
And just to follow up, a couple of years back when the assessment was done for the elevator, how surface was that? I mean, was there any, I remember at the time it didn't give us a nice cost breakdown, but is there anything there to kind of get us started so we can?
Yeah, we've done not only that, but past years we did some studies when COTC was looking at the building. They paid to have one done. So we have a good starting point as far as structurally how strong the building is. That didn't necessarily look at reuse of the different spaces. The elevator focused on, the foundation, how strong it is. And structurally, that building's sound. We know that. And we've done a lot of the, years ago, even before COTC, and way back when we were talking about where the police station was going to go 6 or 7 years ago, we did a complete assessment of the building. And most of the things that were called out in that have been done, whether it's waterproofing the basement, the windows, the ceiling, tuck pointing, the roof, not the ceiling. We put in the HVAC system in the basement. So a lot of the big stuff has been done, the expensive stuff. Now it's just, hey, the use of the building. So we're not going to have to necessarily look at the structure necessarily. It's looking at the spaces to see, are there some of the walls that were put up? Can we remove those to make a bigger conference room? It's that sort of stuff. And coming up with those options, as Todd said, looking at cost estimates and deciding which direction we want to go with it. And then we focus on that and begin down the path like we are with the police station with design, plans, and bidding it out.
I'd like to add one other thing. We basically wanted to kind of get ahead of it a little bit because, there's whatever we do, whatever's decided on, whatever council decides, or whatever we recommend that comes out of our buildings and grounds to recommend to council, would have to be in the 2018 budget. So we were hoping to get ahead of it so we would have an idea of what that is. So when they begin planning the 2018 budget, we're not behind the 8 ball. They have an idea what to budget for, and we can be ahead of the game. So we're not sitting here next year talking about what we're going to do with an empty building.
And I think what's important to do is as soon as, have that idea or have that decision in place, so as soon as the police vacate that, we can get in there and start on that so the building doesn't sit vacant at all.
Yes, Andy?
And I know I sat and listened to the Buildings and Ground Committee meeting tonight. The different historical committees that are a part or would want to be a part, how would you see, Tommy, how do you see those being brought into this discussion?
Yeah, that's a good point. And we talked about that. Mayor's on that board, correct?
I'm involved with the theater group, yes.
Yeah, and we did mention, I think Mr. Hicken brought it up, or Mrs. Hayes, I can't remember which one, that whatever we do, we would like that group to have a say in what it looks like, and I believe they even have some funding that they could assist with, whatever that's determined. But we just keep talking about it, and we we have to take the next step. And that's what this motion is for, is to take the next step and actually figure out what we're going to do with the building. So,
Anything to add, Mr.?
Well, and I would just say, along with that, with the theater group, as we call them, looking at utilization, I know they have a desire for, what is currently the lab space, which, we'll have to look at that. Does that serve better for a city purpose, or is it something that could be utilized by the theater group? So it's certainly important to get them involved when we start doing it.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't necessarily referring just to the theater group, but the building, the historical buildings, group that's out there. I forget what they're called. Historical Society people. Yeah, those guys. They, I would be in favor of getting them involved with a professional that would be able to work with them to give some direction. I know Kathy's got some great pictures of the building when 65, 70 years ago, and how it was utilized then. And I thought those were some really good ideas.
So you're referring to the local historical society,
Correct.
not the Registry of Historic Places?
Not registry. No.
Okay.
I don't
Very
think
good.
I'd want you to have to
Our
work
local
with that.
group that has the museum would be a.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've been kind of part of that, but not the whole subsidiary of the Sterling Theater thing, but they've always been a little bit involved. Some of their members bleed over into that.
That's what I was going to say is a lot of them are the same people in both groups. But it's a great idea, and I agree wholeheartly. So
You've got your Dean Ramseys and all those guys that are all involved. So,
There's a lot of people that could be involved in that and give some great ideas.
All right. Any other discussion on Tommy's motion? Roll, please.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes?
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Any other motions? Okay. On to citizens' comments. Additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak? You have 3 minutes.
Boy, that was tough sitting back there. Mike Fox, 11540 East Broad Street, Pataskala, Ohio, 43062. We had a lot of discussions before when we talked about doing this. Most of those discussions, because you're not going to rent that building out and make any money, and if you do, you're going to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring it up to code. However, we have other departments that could utilize that could free space up here that could then be rented. Also, it's a historical building. That building so far has gotten spent about $900,000, which is getting ready to add another $200,000 in air conditioning, and the value of that building is about $380,000. So just to remind you, if you spend $25,000 on a study, which is probably what it's going to cost, that's $25,000 more that you've spent on that building. I know early on, and Mrs. Carter is smiling there because she remembers the discussion was, let's put some offices in there and free up some other offices to make the money that has, in fact, allowed the police building to be built. So I would highly suggest that you think long and hard about that. It is a historical building. Put it back into its condition that it should be in. Add any of the amenities, which I agree with Mr. King have already been added and updated, many of them. I'm sure there's more, but doors have been taken care of, windows, heating units, all of those type of things. Certainly there's a lot more work that can be done downstairs, but upstairs, I would say don't touch that woodwork. Get the stuff that was added to it out of there, open the hallway back up, make it look like the historical building that it is. If Nate's department can utilize that, or somebody else's department can utilize that, I would just, my 2 cents would be head in that direction and be cautious on spending $25,000 or $30,000. Look into it at this time when I think it's a lot simpler than that. Thanks, guys.
That was good timing, Mr. Fox. Any other additional citizens' comments? Okay, seeing none. Anybody want to throw us into the next section?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3 for a conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. John Albert, Brian Zetz, and B.J. King will be included in the executive
Got
session.
a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hicken. Any discussion?
Mayor? Yes. I recommend we go upstairs.
Yep. Go ahead, roll call, please.
Picken,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes?
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Okay, executive session at 7:55, and yes, we're going upstairs. By Mrs. Carter, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Picken,
Yes.
Walther.
Out of executive session at 8:35. Let's go round robin real quick. Suzanne, we'll start with you.
Fantastic cookie walk.
Yes.
Tons of people knocking on my door hoping to get cookies. It was very awkward. I need to put up a sign that says, "This is my home." No, it was great. It was exciting to see downtown bustling with people and beautiful weather. So that's all. Pretty cool.
Mr. Walter?
The only thing I had to add about the cookie walk would be that, I know we've had discussions about the city being involved and not being involved. I think it's at this time, I would hope that the city decides to be involved, both with some police support, at either end of it. Made me extremely nervous watching those little kids jump around on sugar, basically running wild, and cars zipping by. It was at least the notification boards put up on either end. I think that's the minimum we could do to try to protect that area, in my opinion. So that's all I've add. Other than that, it was a great time. Lots and lots of people. We need about another 100 bags to go out with it, which will mean you guys will have to do another 100 cookies.
That's all. Be
My
glad
daughter
to.
asked me if it was the Christmas trick or treat in town. She goes, "Is this like trick or treat, but only like with cookies?"
350 bags, and I think everybody did about 400 cookies, and I know they were all gone.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good.
Mr. Lee?
I was going to give some thank yous to Alan, Nate, and Scott, but I'm going to save that for the next meeting when they're actually here.
Okay, I just want to say, hey, Tommy, your place looks marvelous. What an asset to the city. When I walked in there the other night, after you showed it to me the first time, and it was a dirty, old, quiet building, and then I walked in there Saturday night and couldn't hear yourself think because people were laughing and talking and drinking and enjoying, and it was amazing. You did an amazing job, very professional, and I'll see you at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning for another cinnamon roll and a hot chocolate.
Hope to see everyone, but thank you for your support, Mayor. You've been great.
And just want to remind everybody, obviously on Wednesday, we'll be thinking about Pearl Harbor when we lost 2,403 people and 1,100 injured. So remember Pearl Harbor. And with the holidays coming, it's funny, some of these stats jumped out at me. MAD was started in 1980, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and at that time there were 30,000 people getting killed with drunk drivers. Now there's only about 10,000 a year, which obviously is down, but still one life is too many. 300 people die a year in Ohio alone from drunk driving, and 6,000 are injured. So please make sure you spread the word not to drink and drive. And Merry Christmas to everybody. Mrs. Carter?
I just want to second what Andy said. I didn't make it to the cookie walk myself because I was very, very ill, but with the kids, especially during the parade when it got dark and the kids were have eaten 400 cookies and they're running around on the edge of the street, it does make you nervous, and I was just waiting for something bad to happen. So I agree that we need to, if we are going to continue with events on Main Street, which I really love, we need to take some precautions for the safety of everyone. So that's very important. And the only thing I wanted to add was I really appreciate the ministry and with feeding the children, especially the ones where you don't realize how many kids are hungry until you're on a different side of things. And I've had my eyes opened recently. So, if you have the means, or you can do that not just at Christmas, but all year round, there are kids who really need basic necessities. So I appreciate your award and what they do for the community. That's all I have.
I just want to mention real quick, I forgot, Shop with a Cop. This jar is at Jess's desk. And like I said, we already have the amount that we know we're going to spend with the kids, so you can give at any time, and it'll go with Shop with a Cop.
Mr. Mayor, we also have one at our shop, and we are doing the toy drive too. So if you got toys or Shop with a Cop, you can stop by them.
Very good. Mr. Hicken.
Well, I was happened to be up at the Cookie Walk, and it was absolutely fabulous. There are a couple of special kudos I would give. One is to the Citizens Police Academy, who was working hard. The next two probably won't like this, but I will say it. The mayor and Andy Walther worked hard, and it seems to me like it's already a city event in some ways that way. I was grateful that Andy was helping at the bag drop-off place. He did not have to do that. It's just somebody that's concerned about the community, and I thought that was cool. And I was also the same thing for the mayor, who yelled, "Watch the kids in the crosswalk" 600 times if he yelled it once. So I would echo all that stuff. The only other thing that I would say is I'm unbelievably proud to be a member of the community. When we hear about caroling and cookie walks that raise thousands of pounds of food, and elves and west-looking tour drives and Shop with a Cop, it is true that it tends to be holiday season based, but when I hear so many different things, both in the faith-based community and the fire department and the police department, I'm really proud to be a member of the community, and I just think it's absolutely awesome. The only other thing I would do is at this time, since scheduling is part of this, I would make a motion that we do not hold our second meeting in December. And
Got a
then-
motion on the floor, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Walther,
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
All right, no second meeting in December. Anything else, Mr. Hicken?
No, I'm done.
Okay, I just have one quick thing. Now, I wasn't the mayor on Saturday night. I'm actually a Citizens Police Academy alumni member. That's why I was at the crosswalk.
Of course you're, and you're,
Mr. Barstow.
and you're a board member, and
I'd like to
Mr.
know how
Barstow.
many
No,
organizations that means.
I echo the comments of Mr. Hicken, that all the really fine things that we do here in the community, that all the different organizations that get involved, it's really great. It's really great to have the the small town atmosphere that we have, and people working together to do really nice things in the community. So I really do appreciate that. And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn?
second.
Seconded by Suzanne. Discussion and roll. Hope you feel better, Andy.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther,
Yep.
Carter,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Record,
Senator.
that's not
Mr.
a
King?
payment towards my cursing.
Is there going to be
That's for shopping.
is there going to be